Hi, I'm Corel Draws Tips and Tricks. Someone emailed me and asked me how I drew this shape that I have on my one of my first earlier videos on my clock face to make that shape. Well, I didn't really remember, and I can't really find. There's a couple ways you could do it. Some of them are a lot harder than the other one. You can take your rectangle tool, draw your rectangle, then get your pick tool and skew it till you get to that shape. You want these two nodes kind of close. The only thing wrong with that is that we need this at a right angle to make our clock. And now you can see we're at 84.7 degrees. So you'd have to do some math to rotate this thing around your clock face because it's not perfect. I mean, and I don't know how you would set this back to zero. That's one way. You go up to your basic shapes and get a closest thing to a triangle that Corel Draw has, and you could hold down your control button and you could draw a triangle, uh, convert it to a curve maybe, and then take this node and expand it out, and then you could rotate it. But you're going to run the same problem, and then you would control D to make a duplicate, go up here to make a mirror image, move it up pretty close, and see where you'd have to be you'd have to be dead on to make this work. We're not, and I'm not going to take the time in the video to show you, but let's say if you were dead on, then you could just take those two objects and weld them together, and voila, you have that shape. But now you're at 0, 0, so that's pretty convenient because now you can rotate it around the clock face. But we're not really perfect diamond, and so you could sit there and play with it and put it in the center of your page and draw your indexing lines down to the center and hit the Z key and get your zoom tool. And you can see we've got little jagged edges, and you could take those away with your deleting that node with your shaping tool. And then you could bring this over and check, but see we're not parallel here, so you'd have to bring this over. And one thing a lot of people don't think about, it's going to be really hard to move this node over minutely if your hand shakes just a little bit. So on that one, I moved it pretty good by hand. But go to your shape tool and grab this node and then kind of zoom in. And a lot of people don't realize that when you grab that node, you can actually use your arrow keys, and whatever your nudge factor is how much you're going to move. So now we've got a pretty good shape. And we will move this one out of the way. And then you could play with it and bring it in, and it's going to look pretty much like my diamond. So there's a second way, and the good thing about it, we're at 0, 0 in rotation. And in case you didn't watch the first video, if what I meant by that, if you had a clock face and you wanted to rotate this diamond shaped, and of course this is way too big, so we'll make it a little smaller. And then this is where you want to put it in the middle of the page, or right on that line. And then you would make a duplicate, Control D, double click on it, get your cursor key or your rotation, and then rotate this 30 degrees. And then do it again, and you would go around your clock face. But there's another way to draw that same object that's probably a lot easier. Go to your Smart Fill tool, go to the Smart Drawing tool, and just draw. And I'm not doing a very good job purposely. No. And you've got a pretty exact, and we'll check it out here, pretty exact diamond shape with your smart. I mean, we're dead on. And then you can take it and reduce it and make it smaller. And let's say, well, it's a little bit too thick. Well, let's just reduce the thickness. So now you've got a 0, 0. Now the bad thing about it is at 270, and I don't really understand that because we did, I don't know, let's try that again. Go to your Smart Draw tool, and if you use these indexing lines, you kind of get close. Yeah, I don't know why you'd be at 270, but you could, at least you can work with this, because if you, now you're at 270, let's fill it in. Make it black. Let's put those at the top of the page. Hit your zoom key, Control Z. I use my nudge factor a lot, and I keep it real small. So now we know we're at 270, and double click on it, move your rotation, and just for some reason we're to 0, 0, so that works. So now you just move it 30 degrees. And if it was at that 270, which is now 30, it'd be the same thing, just make a duplicate, and now go 30 more degrees, or 60 degrees, because it's actually going off that last item. Then after you do that, you should be all the way around good. And I guess I just grabbed the fill on that one, so we'll go to Smart Fill and fill it in and make it black, and there's your clock face. But that's how to make the diamond shaped. If anybody knows a quicker, better, smarter way, let me know. Thank you. Hope this helped.